Welcome to Season 4 of My Wife the Dietitian, a fun, evidence-based weekly podcast about nutrition and healthy living. On today's show, we're talking to dietitian Andrea Hardy. Andrea has appeared on TED Talks, written a book on digestive health, and has her own podcast, Let's Gut Real. She joins us to share her wisdom on digestive health and, as she says, cut through the crap. Stay with us for all the tips. Enjoying the show? You can help others find it and enjoy it too by giving us a 5-star rating or review. If you feel like reaching out to us with a question or comment, you can send us an email at mywifetherd@gmail.com. And don't forget to visit our website at mywifethedietitian.com, as well as our social media pages. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Enjoy the show. Welcome to My Wife the Dietitian. Hello, Sandra.
Hello, Rob.
How's it going?
Good. I think you might be backed up.
I might be backed up. That's very rare.
I'm just teasing. We have a guest interview today with dietitian Andrea Hardy.
Oh, and you wanted me to be like the guinea pig on the show.
Well, she's got an ebook called Backed Up.
Uh-huh.
And that's why I said that.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And we could use you as a case study, maybe talk a little bit about, I'm just joking. We won't bug you.
It's not going to happen.
Okay. That's what a lot of people are in the bathroom saying. It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. Exactly.
Sorry.
Not happening today.
Oh my goodness. Anyways, so yeah, she also has a podcast called Let's Gut Real, and we'll link that in the show notes. But this will be a really interesting conversation all about constipation and bloating and digestive health in a way that's easy to digest.
Yeah,
and we're
fun.
just going to cut through the crap, as Andrea says.
Yeah, there you go. All of that and more coming up with Andrea Hardy.
We have Andrea Hardy, dietitian and podcast host of Let's Gut Real, and TED Talks speaker. Gosh, I think that's so cool, Andrea, that you did a TED Talks, and I think it's a really good topic and information and misinformation that you talk about. But thank you so much for joining us on the show today. And can you tell the listeners a little bit more about yourself and who you help and what you do in your work?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I'm, like you mentioned, a registered dietitian, and I specialize in digestive health. So I help make nutrition science easy to digest, pun intended.
Love it.
I have,
Love it.
And yeah, so I have a private practice called Ignite Nutrition, where I have a team of fantastic dietitians and a psychologist who practice across Canada and help people with everything from irritable bowel syndrome to inflammatory bowel disease, to rare GI conditions. And then I do media and speaking as well. So I work with a variety of industry and healthcare providers to provide evidence-based nutrition information on digestive health.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, that's because there is a lot, like just like your TED Talks where you said misinformation is like, it's kind of out of hand out there, and it really impacts people's health if they start going down a path that could possibly be harmful or detrimental to their health. And we just did an episode recently with another fellow dietitian from Tampa, Florida, who did the Carnivore. He did an experiment on himself for a month, and it was very eye-opening. And he basically, his doctor said, you have to stop now. You're really harming yourself. And just, there's so much information out there, and there's so many different diet and nutrition advice. So I'm glad that you were, an evidence-based speaker at TED Talks, and you did such a great job. It was such a good presentation, and it's on YouTube. So we'll have that in the show notes. We'll link that.
Oh, great.
Yeah. And gosh, specializing in digestive health, like this is something that I see all the time with clients, like just issues with bloating and constipation and digestive issues. And so like from your perspective, like what are some of the common causes of bloating and constipation?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny you say that because when I started my private practice 10 years ago, constipation and bowel habits were still kind of taboo in terms of topic, but with the rise of digestive health and the gut microbiome on social media, it's exciting. People are talking about it more, but with that comes a lot of inaccurate information. And so, yeah, when it comes to constipation and bloating, it's interesting because a lot of people come to our practice and say, I feel bloated. And they might have tried, a random supplement they got advertised on Instagram or something an influencer recommended, like, at home coffee enemas, or they might have, tried to go down an alternative medicine pathway where they get diagnosed with some unusual rare condition that they don't actually have, when in fact, a lot of times bloating is a symptom of constipation. And so I don't think people have a really deep understanding of what constipation truly is and how it can present. A lot of people just think, okay, hard stools once in a while, that's not me, therefore I couldn't be constipated. But that's not actually what we typically see in practice.
Right.
I'm sure you see it all the time with your patients, especially, working in oncology. I think a lot of factors that contribute to constipation you'd see, but it's interesting because, people don't consider the medical conditions that they might have as contributing to constipation. I think the statistics are 1 in 10 women have hypothyroidism, and that's a huge contributor to constipation. I think the stats are around 7 in 10 and 3. So 7 in 10 women or 3 in 10 men have pelvic floor dysfunction. So that's discoordination of the muscles required to facilitate a bowel movement. And that can be a huge cause of constipation.
Because that's kind of more like the plumbing. Like if you think of the material going through the pipes and then the bowels as the actual pipes, then it's kind of like you have an anatomical issue, and that's like the pelvic floor or the muscles or the nerves are dysfunctioning, and then it's not allowing you to have a regular bowel movement. Is that kind of what, like in a small summary of pelvic floor dysfunction for Rob?
Exactly. Yeah. So your pelvic floor is really what helps to facilitate a bowel movement, and it's connected to your diaphragm. It's connected to, your entire trunk. So if you're having issues with, your diaphragm, or you have a back injury, or you've had children, your pelvic floor can sustain an injury, just like if you, rolled your ankle or what have you. So a lot of people aren't actually able to coordinate the relaxation of the pelvic floor, which is required to allow stool to pass through. So they might have muscular imbalances, or they might not facilitate that in the right sequence. So essentially you have to increase your abdominal pressure, which is related to your abdominal wall and how it moves. And then you have to relax your pelvic floor to properly facilitate a bowel movement. And not all of us, very few of us actually can do that because, things happen in life that impact ability to facilitate a bowel movement.
Wow. And if that's happening for someone, I guess if they're eating kind of low fiber or not enough fluids, would that further exacerbate that issue?
Yeah, exactly. And I think when we think of constipation, we think of fiber and fluids, and that can absolutely be a major contributor. And I think a lot of people don't realize, but we do need quite a lot of fiber each day consistently to best facilitate bowel movements. Most people get, around 10 or 15 grams average per day of fiber, but really we should be shooting for 25 to 38 grams a day. So most people aren't even getting half of their recommended daily fiber a day. And what I most commonly see is people will have good fiber days and not so good fiber days. So it's kind of creating this roller coaster where their bowels aren't able to, properly move stool through, simply because fiber kind of helps with transit time, or how quickly things move through. It helps with stool consistency, making sure the stool is soft enough to pass. And if we're not consistently getting in enough fiber, it kind of causes traffic jams, essentially.
Oh, absolutely. Rob, did you have a question?
I was just going to say, it needs to be like a consistent input of fiber to keep things flowing regularly. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Yeah. I think a lot of people will maybe do good, Monday through Thursday, Monday through Friday during their typical weekday where they're a little bit more routine based. And then things can kind of fall off the rails on the weekend where maybe there's more opportunities to eat out, or you're busy doing things that get in the way of consistently getting that fiber intake in.
Yeah, and then they feel they have to make up for it, right? It's like, I have to have a big salad because I haven't eaten veggies in a while, or I know what you mean. I kind of do that. I don't have any issue with fiber. I mean, I get plenty, but I know sometimes you feel like your diet's kind of fallen off the rails for a few days, like you said, on the weekend, if you're out or whatever. And the same with going to the gym. You feel like, I haven't gone to the gym in a while. I got to get back in there. And you get out of that sort of structured routine that keeps things consistent.
100%. I mean, I'm a dietitian. I specialize in this. I struggle with constipation, and I too can get out of that rhythm or routine. One of the things that I really try to do that I find is effective for patients and works for me too is being really intentional with breakfast. Because if you're a breakfast consumer, it's something, that's typically built into your routine each and every day, regardless of what your schedule ends up looking like, or, if things go off the rails. So if we can get in 10 grams of fiber at breakfast, we're starting the day off right. And at least, we're a third of the way there in terms of fiber intake. So being really intentional at breakfast can be super helpful. For people that really do struggle with consistency, bridging the fiber gap with fiber supplements is a great option as well, to help top off their fiber intake and just make sure that they're getting enough.
Yeah, good idea.
Right. And the breakfast, that's so true. I see that time and again with clients who are fasting or intermittent fasting, and they just intentionally are not eating till about, noon or 1 o'clock. And so they're missing that opportunity for fiber pretty much. And also people that are just having eggs for breakfast. Eggs are wonderful, great protein source. They have great nutrition, but if you're just having eggs, it's just, you don't get the balance of the plate. You're not getting the fiber. So add something with your eggs, like have that whole grain toast or have some veggies with your eggs, and try to get, I love that idea of getting that 10 grams, like at least 10 grams, because breakfast is a good opportunity to get fiber into the day.
It definitely is. And you're so right with that intermittent fasting is, how are we making that up when we skip breakfast? What are we doing to make sure that we have something nutrient dense later in the day? Like, breakfast is such an easy opportunity to get a fiber rich, balanced meal. And I find with my intermittent fasters, it can be often really, really hard to hit fiber targets later in the day, just inherently because you're missing such a great opportunity. You got to catch up a little.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And actually, it's funny because I was listening to your podcast, Let's Gut Real, yesterday and earlier today. And it's so interesting. I love how you say, let's cut the crap, like basically let's get more, like, let's just, like, there's so much, like, just the intermittent fasting is a good example of, one of those trends that is like widespread, and it's like, it's promoted for, weight loss, like promoted for everything. And then, a lot of the science is on men, but I find that a lot of women clients that I see, that are intermittent fasting, a lot of times it's kind of like there's kind of underlying disordered eating going on, or even just like an excuse not to have breakfast because it's like, oh, well, if I don't start the day with breakfast, then I'm cutting some of the calories. So then I won't eat as much over the 24-hour period. But it's actually opposite. I see like with people that don't have breakfast, they end up having those cravings after work or after dinner, and they end up like just kind of going off the rails like later in the day when your inhibitions are low and you just feel tired and you want to treat yourself. And, it's just like, I don't know. I can't tell enough about how important breakfast is for people. I really believe that is a real like foundational part of healthy eating and just for your health. What do you think?
100%. I agree. You got to set that day up right because like you said, if you're skipping breakfast, we're not only missing an opportunity for a very nutrient dense meal, but we're often not meeting our nutrition requirements from a caloric perspective. And then later in the day, patients do feel that loss of control around food. And they're like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I control myself? Why do I eat an entire box of crackers before dinner? Why am I so hungry? Well, you're hungry because you didn't eat breakfast. And when you skip breakfast, you're missing out on not only calories, but those foods that contribute to basically managing hormones that influence our appetite, influence our blood sugars. So it really does, even though they're doing it for the best intentioned purposes, it really does kind of mess up their nutrition intake, I find, in the real world.
Oh, absolutely. It's so like, it's kind of just, it used to be just common sense that like, if your kid's going off to school, they should eat before they go, but nowadays It's like, oh, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to do a workout and I'm going to go to work and I'm going to just have coffee. And then I'm not going to eat till noon or 1 because I'm intermittent fasting. It's like, really? Well, don't you think your body could use some nutrition to get the day going since it's an active period in the day? And anyways, I'm getting cynical, but I just feel like there's just a lot of misinformation out there, and a lot of it is really steering people in the wrong direction. And then they come and like, seeing clients over and over again with similar issues. It's like when you start working with them and getting them on, regular eating a breakfast in the morning and like getting more fiber in there and getting more consistent meals and snacks, really makes a difference with their nutrition, like how they feel, and less bloating and constipation. And like we just did an episode on bloating about like, like you said, it's a lot of times it's underlying, there's constipation that's happening, but people aren't identifying it as constipation.
Right.
Yeah.
And you think about the role of regular eating in constipation. And so when you eat about 60 to 90 minutes after, your body has something called the migrating motor complex, which facilitates motility or movement in your bowels. And so 60 to 90 minutes post-eating activity, there's these waves of movement through the bowels. And so when you're skipping meals, you're actually skipping these opportunities to create motility or movement in your gut. In addition, inadequate intake is a big contributor to constipation. It's not actually one of the constipation subtypes is defined by Rome criteria, but as dietitians, we know that when people underfuel, their bowels don't move as quickly. And so a lot of people, if they're experiencing bloating, they're like, oh, I need to cut back on what I'm eating. And they cut back on what they're eating and their bloating is the same or worse. And really that low energy intake is actually making the constipation worse and making the bloating worse. So getting enough nutrition in, whether it's fiber or we're just talking calories, is really important.
Because it's all related, right? I mean, as soon as you start eating, doesn't that sort of trigger your whole digestive system to kick in and start its job of digesting your food? Like that's sort of what you're saying, right? Yeah. Like I remember doing an episode about, I don't know, something to do with like well, digestion, obviously, but yeah, it starts like when you're chewing. I think that activates
Exactly,
everything.
yeah.
So yeah, it makes sense. If you're not eating as often, then yeah, the whole system doesn't get activated as often.
Exactly. Yeah. That morning, activity of eating triggers what's called your gastrocolic reflex, which again is related to the motility or movement of your gut. So starting the day with something to help trigger that movement can help to reduce frequency of constipation.
Yeah, and just, talking to people that have hypothyroid, or they were maybe training for a marathon and they were skipping breakfast, and they were kind of like the layers of stress. And then they have like all this digestive issues going on, but then they're diagnosed with hypothyroid or like Hashimoto's, because their body was like, I think there's just so much stress going on and you're just not giving yourself the fuel, like AKA the nutrition in the morning, and your gut pays the price, right? And your whole body does, your whole system.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Now there was with the bloating, there was something I heard in one of your episodes about this little test where you put the pencil between the teeth test for air swallowing. I was trying to explain it to Rob, but I think I'd rather you explain it.
Sure. So an undiscussed cause of bloating is air swallowing. So people can swallow air through a variety of different ways. Whether that's through bubbly drinks, smoking, if they have sleep apnea and they have a poorly fitting mask, they can swallow a lot of air. So there's lots of reasons. Or sometimes people, when they talk, they swallow air. When they're more stressed, they can swallow air, and that can contribute to bloating, upper gut discomfort, belching. So a simple thing. So the pencil test is not, discussed in the research per se, but if you speak with occupational therapists, they're going to tell you it's a really easy physiological way to see people's air swallowing habits. So if you put a pencil between your teeth, like bite down on a pencil, you can't swallow air. So, for example, my husband's probably not going to listen to this, so I can just,
okay,
use him as our case study, but my husband's an air swallower. And so he'll complain that he's like, oh, he's super uncomfortable. I can't stop burping. And, when he's stressed or talking a lot, he's swallowing a lot of air. So you can literally have them like bite down on a pencil to prevent air swallowing, and you'll see that, the belching stops. They're not able to actually swallow that air. So for people that have, significant amounts of belching, a lot of times, again, you end up down this like crazy Google search alternative medicine pathway saying you have low stomach acid or something crazy like that. Chances are you just swallow a lot of air. And so figuring that out is really helpful. And then working with occupational therapists on behavioral things to unlearn air swallowing can be a really effective way to manage that. So ultimately, it's typically a behavioral thing. But if you end up down that pathway of misinformation, the alternative medicine space is going to say you have low stomach acid. You probably have SIBO. You need to take all these crazy supplements and do all these expensive tests.
And really, you just need a pencil.
Yeah. Really, you just need a pencil to understand, are you an air swallower? And then find an occupational therapist that's able to support with the behavior of air swallowing. They can teach you how to stop swallowing air.
So how long do you have to have the pencil in your mouth? You said it stops the belching. Is that? Yeah.
So I would typically say, like, in an incident where the person is actively complaining of, belching, can't stop burping. Typically that's when you'd put the pencil in and hold it there. And if the belching stops, it's typically behavioral. It's not like your stomach's magically producing all of this gas that you're belching out. It's behavioral, that you're swallowing the air and belching it back out.
So it's more of an instant result then, because you're belching because of your swallowing air, and then 20 seconds later you're belching again. And if you put the pencil in, it stops that kind of cycle.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, cool. Okay. Well, that's interesting. Makes
because
sense.
You can't swallow air if you're biting a pencil. That's the bottom line.
Apparently. How do people figure that out?
You'd have to ask an occupational therapist, because I feel like they're one of the least talked about health professionals, and they are so skilled in anything orally related, anything swallowing related. They're going to be go-tos for these sorts of things.
Yeah,
so
super creative
my plug
solutions.
for occupational therapists. I feel like they're so under-recognized and so useful in ways you wouldn't even typically think of.
Yeah, they're like really good at solving puzzles.
Yeah,
with the body, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
interesting.
Oh my goodness. Wow. So just back, I just wanted to get a sense, like we were talking a lot about like bloating and constipation, and are there certain, like you said, the hypothyroid is a medical condition that might affect constipation. Are there any other medical conditions that, I mean, obviously the IBS and IBD, but I bet there's lots, eh?
Yeah, there is quite a few medical conditions. Some of the bigger ones are things like hypothyroidism, certain conditions like, diabetes, chronic kidney disease, Parkinson's, conditions that affect, your nervous system, can all contribute to constipation. Hormonal reasons like pregnancy or perimenopause or menopause, structural conditions like endometriosis or adenomyosis can contribute to constipation. Redundant colon is a common cause of constipation that I don't think really gets talked about, or it's not typically diagnosed unless somebody has a scope, but lots of people structurally have a longer or more kind of, bendy colon, so to speak, that contributes to constipation. When your colon's biggest job is to reabsorb fluid and electrolytes, or one of its big jobs. And so if you have an extra long colon, it's probably extra good at reabsorbing that fluid. So you're left with harder stools that are more difficult to pass.
Right. Absolutely. And if you layer on, say you start taking a GLP-1 or Ozempic or Mounjaro type of medication, that will slow the whole digestive system too, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Those ones are big ones. And we're combining inadequate dietary intake alongside a medication that influences bowel motility. So definitely can contribute to constipation. So that's actually medication-induced constipation is a big one.
Yes.
Certain antidepressants cause constipation. If you're taking iron supplements for low iron, or for example, like your prenatal might have a ton of iron in it, that can contribute to constipation. Calcium, which a lot of us take for bone health if we're not consuming adequate amounts of calcium fortified foods and beverages. So lots of medications can contribute to constipation as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's quite an extensive list. Absolutely. And I'm sure there's lots more. I mean, when you think of all the different, medication induced, but pain medication, right? Different narcotics or codeine or, and I'm thinking of in the oncology field, with people having treatment and there's side effects to the chemo or different cancer treatments.
Like the antihistamines and that sort of thing you're right. They're taking them alongside the chemo.
Right. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So and I mean, in terms of lifestyle adjustments, things that, to help with constipation and bloating, I mean, we talked a little bit about them, but is there any other, is there supplements or treatment or just different things you can do in your diet? I mean, we talked about breakfast, but what are some other things?
Yeah, so we talked, about fiber, which is really important. So a lot of times I'll get my patients to use tracking apps, for example, or a food journal to see how much fiber they're consistently getting. And then once we understand their baseline fiber, I typically say go up like around 5 grams, every few days and just see how your gut tolerates, because it can be, a lot for your gut to go from 10 grams of fiber a day up to 30
Yes.
if it's not used to it.
Slow and low. That's what I always say. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then we want to pair that with adequate fluid. Most people do get adequate fluid. And it's funny because a lot of the constipation advice out there says make sure you're getting more fluid, but most people do actually get enough fluid a day. And we know that like extra fluid isn't going to be what resolves constipation. So we just want to hit our fluid goals, about 2 liters of fluid a day. Yes, coffee and tea counts. And we just want to make sure that we're getting about 2.5 liters a day, depending on your body size. Something that people don't think about is high fat meals. So fat slows gastric emptying, and it can often worsen constipation and bloating. So high fat meals can be a big trigger. So we just want to watch, fried foods, high fat dairy, high fat animal products, and see how that influences your individual constipation symptoms. But it can definitely contribute to constipation and bloating.
Oh, that's a good one, eh? That, Rob, that was one that, is that surprising to you, Rob?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. I thought so. I knew that, just that was, when we talked about the carnivore diet, and, that's like pretty much all animal food. There's no fiber and a lot of fatty foods like butter and bacon and lots of saturated fat. And in theory, you'd think that there'd be some probably bowel disturbance or constipation with that. So that's a good point. It slows gastric emptying, the high fat diet.
Mm-hmm. I think, you get interesting reports of people that feel quote unquote better on a carnivore diet digestively. And I think it's interesting because I think the carnivore diet kind of obviously misses the mark in terms of dietary quality and what we know to be true about taking care of our health long term. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because it's going to be a diet extremely low in fiber. So in that case, the question is, when you consumed a higher fiber diet, was this, adding to the traffic jam? Did you have underlying constipation? Were you eating too much of certain foods that contribute to gas? So it's a clue in itself. If people are like, when I did the carnivore diet, my gut felt amazing. There's stuff to unpack and uncover there, because that's really not a solution for long-term health. It's not a safe diet. And so we need to figure out, what we should be doing instead to still get the same digestive health results, but with higher dietary quality.
Yes. Yeah, that makes sense.
As far as fiber, are there types of fiber that are better than others? I mean, obviously you can eat bread and get fiber, but is it better to sort of consume more like fruits and vegetables or nuts and seeds or beans, or is fiber?
Yeah, so fiber can be classified in a variety of different ways. And I think for most individuals, we can think of fiber as just fiber, but we can classify it by viscosity, solubility. There's so many ways in which we can, and fermentability. So we can classify it so many different ways, but I think that overcomplicates it for people.
Probably.
So that's why I kind of just focus on the total fiber intake. However, there is times where I talk about fiber classification with people, and that is when we're talking about fiber supplements. So fiber from food, yes, we can get fiber from whole grains exclusively, for example. However, we would miss the mark on other nutrients, dietary variety. So we do want to think about variety. Mm-hmm. In terms of classifying fiber supplements are kind of easy to classify. For example, psyllium or Metamucil, if you've stirred it into water before, you can see it gets viscous, it gets thick. So you can kind of visualize how that fiber might act differently than if you stirred, kale into a cup, which is insoluble fiber. Right. So with that, we can strategically use fiber supplements to get really specific benefits in the gut to manage constipation. So choosing a fiber supplement that's not very fermentable can be helpful. Fermentability means the ability for your gut microbes to break down that fiber supplement, which is beneficial for health, but can produce a lot of gas, which contributes to bloating.
Right.
And then solubility is the other big piece of things, and viscosity, which can help to regulate stool consistency. So psyllium has great research to show that it can help to relieve constipation. 1 heaping teaspoon up to 3 times a day has great evidence for constipation resolution. It's low fermentability, but high solubility and viscosity to improve that stool consistency.
And actually, I'm just when you said 1 teaspoon 3 times a day, I was just thinking the study that came out with kiwis, which is like more food, and it's not necessarily psyllium, obviously, but it's the soluble and insoluble fiber and the actinidin enzyme. So it was 2 to 3 kiwis a day can increase bowel movement, so help with constipation in people with IBS-C. But yeah, when you mentioned you were just talking about like 3 times a day, the psyllium, which is kind of like it's like, yeah, like oatmeal's like that too, right? Like the oatmeal is a soluble fiber, kind of have a similar action to Metamucil and psyllium, but you're getting a little bit more nutrition.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a little bit of studies with, beta glucan and oats, oat bran. It doesn't perform as well in terms of constipation management, but we don't look at, like, when we're thinking about managing individuals' constipation, we're not just looking at one single food item. Exactly. We're really trying to manage it more holistically. You're not a research study.
Right.
You can treat your nutrition that way if you'd like, but, I think, like you mentioned, we want to really focus on what are some really easy, simple strategies that we can add in each and every day, whether that's oatmeal or kiwi. And so in my book, I don't know if you guys actually saw it, but I have a book called Backed Up, which is the ultimate guide to overcoming constipation.
I love that title. I have seen your book. Right? I love the title. Yeah.
We have like a constipation superfoods list. And so my advice typically after we're focused on, fiber, fluid, and fat, then if that's inadequate to manage, usually that's like for more mild constipation that we'd focus on that. Then we'd add on things. And I think it's a very, easy to understand approach to add in 1 to 2 constipation superfoods each and every day to really see that difference in stool consistency and stool frequency. So it could be things like oats or 2 kiwi fruit or half a cup of papaya or 5 to 6 prunes. Certain types of probiotic yogurts have evidence to help with gut motility, chia seeds. There's a lot of different ones we can add in, and they have to make sense for you. So what can you see yourself doing each and every day? Or do you look at that list and say, okay, these are going to be my 2 constipation superfoods today. And then the next day it might be something different. It really depends on the individual.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I love that. And with your, like when you're traveling, like it's easy to have the, psyllium like in a pack, right? Like if you take your fiber supplement, like to prevent that constipation, the traveler's constipation, like it's one of those like easy, kind of a quick thing, especially to, you can have it's portable. It's not like bringing, a fruit. You can't really bring it on the plane or anything. But
prunes are actually like super portable. I typically have them in my suitcase when I travel.
Oh, yeah. Oh, interesting.
So that's a good one.
Yeah, good call.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh. Wow. This has been such a wealth of information. Rob, do you have any other questions for Andrea here about constipation or bloating or gut health?
It's not an issue I suffer from, so no. I'm
okay.
I can add that.
Must be nice, Rob.
I know, right?
You're lucky.
I started eating like oatmeal regularly in the morning, like a few years ago, I think. And that was a game changer for me, not for constipation so much, but just for, like we were talking earlier about feeling, I think we're talking about fasting and starting the day off right. And oatmeal for me was a game changer. And I loaded up with fruit and nuts and seeds and wheat germ and you name it. And that keeps me full until, well into the afternoon. And I would be having cravings before. I used to just eat like eggs and toast or cereal and milk. And by, before noon, I'd be hungry again. I'd be craving and I'd be eating snacks in the afternoon and sort of the same thing that a lot of people I think probably do. And so that's one thing for me that made a difference. And I think for me, my morning non-constipation issue is highly related to my cup of coffee too. I think it's or just a hot beverage. That seems to help. So I don't know if that's one of your secrets, but it works for me.
Coffee can be super helpful. A lot of people, it's so funny when I meet with patients, they're like, I drink coffee, but I know I shouldn't. And I'm like, okay, why do you think you shouldn't? Because coffee actually has protective effects for things like fatty liver. And for people that struggle with constipation, it can be such a helpful tool. There's, naturally occurring compounds in coffee that help with motility of the gut. The caffeine helps with the motility. And you're right, the warm beverage is a constipation trick to help trigger your gastrocolic reflex, which is like the motility. So the motility of your gut's most active in the morning, and we want to capitalize on that. And a hot beverage can help with that. So something like coffee, or if you're not a coffee drinker, warm, you can do tea or warm water with lemon, just something palatable. It's not that the lemon's anything special. It's just more to get that warm beverage in to help trigger your bowels to essentially wake up.
Yeah.
So yes, coffee for sure. That is a good constipation hack.
I will say that I had a hospital stay recently. Well, not recently, a few years ago, and I had some pain meds, got sent home with pain meds. And I was constipated for like a week and it was brutal. Oh, yeah. It was brutal. And then, it's painful and not a pleasant experience. So I don't envy anyone that has to deal with, with that.
Oh, totally. It ruins your day. It ruins your week because you're kind of like, you feel like you're off balance. Like you're just kind of, feel like it's like a hangover. Like you're trying to get back to the routine and the consistency, but it's like, it's really hard because you're like hard. Haha. It's just like, anyways, I agree. Constipation does ruin your day.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I have one question we ask all our listeners, Andrea. So when you go to a potluck, what dish would you bring? Maybe something that you've made or bought or whatever. What would you bring to a family or a friend gathering?
Yeah. One of my favorites, I actually really like to roast carrots, and then I make this, I just take canned lentils and I mix them with tahini and lemon and some salt and pepper, and pour like the sauce over the lentils. And then you can like drizzle the carrots with like the lentil tahini mix. I love bringing that because it's a really veggie forward dish. A lot of people don't really know what to do with pulses and lentils. And it's such an easy thing to do, like roasting carrots. I can stick them in the oven 30 minutes, and then I just can mix up the canned lentils and tahini dressing. Super easy.
Oh my God. I'm using that. We're going to a Christmas party tomorrow. I'm totally making that dish.
I know.
I love it. Thank you.
Sounds amazing.
I'll also roast some kale with it sometimes, like just to add some green or like parsley on top or something. But so easy. And so many people are like, oh, I would have never thought to eat a vegetarian dish, or I would never try lentils or what have you. And kind of balances out like all the other things you might have at a potluck. It just provides a little bit of balance in terms of fiber and veggies.
Love it.
It's no fuss.
Yeah.
Whatever's easiest.
Oh,
Yeah.
that
Oh, that's
sounds so
awesome.
good. Yeah, I definitely want to make that. That's great. Totally. Roasted carrots and then just a can of lentils with tahini and lemon and salt and pepper. Oh my gosh. And you're getting your lentils in there. We're always looking for ways to have more beans in the week. So lentils is a good example. Well, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for taking your time to talk with us today. And oh my gosh, we feel like so happy that you were able to, just offer your immense wisdom. Like you've written a book, you've been on TED Talks, you have a podcast. Wow. It's great. I feel honored that you came on our podcast today, Andrea.
Thanks for having me. It was awesome.
Yeah, thanks for sharing your wisdom, and we'll definitely send people your way. Is there anywhere in particular that you sort of want us to direct people? You've got social media or website or anything?
Yeah, so if they're looking for help with their digestion across Canada, the best way to find us is ignitenutrition.ca.
Okay.
And if you're just looking to follow more evidence-based gut content on social media, you can find me at Andrea Hardy RD. I do a lot on Instagram, and I typically post most days digestive health content. So you can learn a lot.
That's perfect. We will share there and send people your way, and hopefully they can get some valuable information about everything that you're putting out there.
And the link.
Thank
I'm going to
you.
link the TED Talks in there too, because that's just a really powerful one. It's 12 minutes or something. It's not long, and it's really got really good information, just a case study in there. And yeah, really awesome to see.
I got to tell you, Andrea, when we were watching that TED Talks, you were cracking jokes and the audience was just flat. I'm like, come on, like that was funny. And,
a solid number 2. I like that one.
I know. There was some great fun stuff, and they were just like flat.
I think the speakers were not towards them. Like it was, yeah. It was interesting. It was a performance. It was a first time on stage like that. I couldn't see anybody.
Oh,
really?
I thought I'd be able to make eye contact with them. But it was great. Great experience.
Great. Yeah,
you
it
did
was a
so
really,
well.
good presentation. I really enjoyed watching it, and you were bang on with so much stuff. I was just cheering you on, going, "Yeah, exactly." That's you nailed it. So we'll definitely send people over to watch that as well, because it's a great resource for people to figure out what's really happening.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Oh,
All
great.
right.
Okay, you have a great weekend. Nice talking with you.
You too.
Okay.
Talk
Take
to
care.
you soon.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Wow, that was I like that she says cut through the crap.
She's funny.
I know. It was funny. And I like also that she specializes in digestive health, and she likes to make nutrition and diet information easy to digest.
There's another one of those puns.
Yes.
Yeah, it's helpful when you've got a health professional that sort of shares some of the issues that you're dealing with, so that like you're talking the same language.
Yeah.
So it sounds like she's been through some of this stuff herself, and that's always helpful.
And her new ebook, Backed Up, which is a great name.
Oh,
She's got a lot of puns. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, that's might as well have some fun with it, right?
Yeah, and her podcast, Let's Gut Real.
Mm-hmm.
Cut through the crap. Actually, that's a really good one to listen to. And we'll link it in the show notes.
There you go. Yeah, there's a few things we'll link in the show notes. There's a few good things we mentioned in this episode, so be sure to check the show notes for all of those.
Yeah, and I like that we kind of went over symptoms of constipation, and I mean it's not a fun topic, but it's pretty common, and a lot of people don't even realize they're backed up. Yeah,
there was quite a few surprises. It's funny, my experience with constipation is just growing up, I always remember my mom saying, if I eat too much cheese, I'll get constipated. It's like ingrained in my head, and that's kind of the only thing I really like that comes to mind when I think about constipation. Is funny. Cheese. And is that even true? Kind of a bit. It could. Right? Everyone's different, but yeah. I just pictured it just like going in and just creating a wall down there. Like, it was like this physical response my body has to cheese. But yeah, it was interesting hearing some of the other causes, I guess, symptoms,
and the pelvic floor dysfunction.
Yeah, yeah, that was something new.
Yeah, lots of different medical conditions and chronic health issues that can be related, plus medication.
Yeah, for sure.
Effects.
Yeah, no, I've definitely had that, and that was nasty. I guess we have mentioned constipation as kind of one of the symptoms of a lot of the different issues we've discussed. Come to think of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of episodes people can check out that I've linked in the show notes for you to look at. Even the thyroid one with dietitian Leisha Nicely, who talks all about Hashimoto's and hypothyroid, because Andrea really talked about that as something that is common, like a common condition, and it's a big reason a lot of women have constipation.
No, because of the hypo or hypothyroid
Hashimoto's.
Yes.
Yeah, so that'll all be in the show notes. And yeah, I'm so glad everyone listened and got some good nuggets of information from Andrea.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, be sure to check out the links that we share of her different sites and her
podcast. Let's get real.
And her podcast. Exactly. So there you go. Thanks again to Andrea for joining us today, and thank you for listening today. It wouldn't be the same without you. It'd be very lonely here.
Really?
Oh, absolutely.
It's great. I know we don't see people, but we get your feedback. We listen and really appreciate each and every one of you listening out there.
Yeah.
Thanks for spending your time with us. And
we know you're out there, but it is nice to hear from you. So be sure to let us know that you're enjoying it. And if there's things you want to hear, different topics, different episodes you want us to do, we're wide open to your suggestions. So let us know. Send us an email. You can connect with us through social media, all those things. And speaking of social media, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And we also have a website. We have a great website. Lots of information there. We've got a great blog, all sorts of different articles on there, a plethora of different nutrition-related information. And we also have a newsletter, a weekly newsletter that's free to join. You just got to click a button. You can be on the list of other listeners who are enjoying their weekly newsletter of great tips, recipes, ideas, all sorts of fun things in the newsletter. So be sure to join up for that. You can find a link for that on the website. It's mywifethedietitian.com. And if you have those questions or ideas for us, you wanted to email us, you can send an email to mywifetherg@gmail.com. And if you like the show, let us know through rating and reviewing, or through commenting. That's always nice hearing that too. But rating and reviewing certainly helps in the formal kind of sense, putting our show out there for other people to find. So if you can do that, that would be super helpful. And sharing with friends is also super helpful too. Plus your friend will enjoy hearing a fun new show. So I think that's it. We've run out of things to say for now, but we will have more things to say on Wednesday. Nutrition nuggets, so be sure to join us then. And in the meantime, have a fantastic week. Thanks for joining us today on My Wife the Dietitian. If you like what you heard, don't be shy. Leave us a comment or review, and be sure to share our podcast with your friends. If you'd like to hear more, hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on our social media pages for updates, episode trailers, and other odds and ends. For more info and links on what we discussed on today's episode, check the show notes. We'll be back next week with another informative and fun-filled episode.